Alright, welcome back everyone to another Watch and Score live stream. We are back finally. It's been over a month since our last one. Apologies, it's been that long. But we are back now, hoping for a productive and exciting 2023, both in terms of boxing and the fights that we cover on this stream. It's good to have you both back. I've got Josh from It's Six Boxing, Alex Big Fish Vega as well on the call, as you can see. Josh, how was your Christmas and New Year, mate?
It was great. Thank you, Jim. Happy to be back. Had a good time just kind of chilling out, and now we hit reset on the boxing meter and we see what's in store. But thank you for having me.
Good man. How about you, Alex? How was yours?
Hey, yes, good to be back. Good to see you, Josh, Jim. Yes, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that. And yeah, it's terrific to be here to do another one of these wonderful streams. We are right back in it. We had a fight last night, this morning, and I think this one's going to be a great fight to watch.
Yeah, it will be. Alex just touched on boxing was back last night. I think that was pretty much the first big event of the year, wasn't it? We'll touch on that after we've done our watch and score fight. We're going to mix it up a little bit this week. So stay tuned. So we'll be discussing Tank Davis versus Hector Garcia from last night, the undercard of that as well, and we will also be looking at what's ahead for the next couple of weekends. So make sure you stick around for that. So I think we can just get straight into it. We're here to watch Ronald Winky Wright versus Fernando Vargas, which was from back in 1999. I think Alex is going to give us a bit of an introduction, and then let's just get straight into it. I'll after you've done your intro, I'll let people know how they can find the fight and score it.
Excellent. So yes, Fernando Vargas versus Winky Wright. Let's start with the challenger, Ronald Winky Wright. He's 28 years old, born in Washington, D.C., fighting out of St. Petersburg, Florida, coming in at 39-2 with 24 stoppages. He's a former WBO junior middleweight champion, standing at 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. He's 4-2 with 2 KOs in world title fights. Now to the champion, ferocious Fernando Vargas, 21 years young, fighting out of Oxnard, California, 5'10", 70-inch reach, 17-0, all by stoppage. Current IBF lightweight champion, 3-0, 3 KOs in world title fights. Here we go.
Sweet, thank you. That's a pretty great record for Vargas, wasn't it, coming into this? Let's just get straight into it. If you do want to score along with us, as usual, you can join our boxing scoring group on fightscore.com. If you're not familiar with this website, it is fight-score.com. That's what we use to score all of the fights that we watch and score. The most comprehensive boxing scorecard available, basically. You can find this fight in the controversial section of the menu, and you can also click on the link in this video description. I believe I put that on there earlier. So yeah, if you want to join the scoring group, I will add the instructions up here. You need to be a registered member on fightscore.com. Once you're registered, you've got a group section where you can enter a code to join groups. The code is on the screen. It's FSYT22. And that will get you in the same group that we're in. You'll be able to see all of our scorecards as we score them, different fights. And you'll also be able to see the fights that we score on these live streams as well. And again, the link is in the description if you want to get to the scorecard URL for the specific fight that we are watching. So, with that said, I don't have mine ready, but I'll do it during this first round. Hopefully you boys are good to go, and so is everyone else that's joining in. Let me turn this music off, and then we will start the video. I think we're straight into the action, no intros. Alex has done that for us.
Fernando Vargas with the bald haircut.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, he normally had like bangs, so.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. A little classic.
Mhm.
Bang.
Yeah, that's how he is in the photo on the on our side on his avatar.
Yeah, this fight is December 4th, 1999, in Chinook Winds Casino, Lincoln City, Oregon. I don't know about Josh, but I know nothing about Oregon, really. Oregon, Oregon.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I don't recall seeing any fights over there or
Mm.
any fights that were shown that took place there. I guess except this now. New thing. I heard they have pretty good golf courses out there, but
Mm.
outside of that, Nike headquarters. Guess that's
Eugene.
notable somewhat.
Yep, in Eugene, Oregon. I'm digging Vargas's trunks, man.
Indeed. Classic zebra print.
See Winky trying to walk down the puncher. Like, catching a lot of those shots on the gloves. We got a righty versus southpaw here, so watch the feet. See who gets the foot on the outside. The puncher tries to step on Winky's foot as he tries to throw, power shots. It's a common thing. You see Winky cutting the ring off, man, with his footwork.
Yeah, pretty crazy. He's always good at being able to move forward while also maintaining his defense due to that good jab, I guess.
Very underrated body puncher. I watched a couple of the fights beforehand, and he gets them in. They don't seem to be hard shots, but if you've ever been hit to the body, you feel them.
For what it's worth, I've played
Now
out
it's
this
kind of right
fight
there, Vargas.
scenario a number of times in Fight Night Champion. Winky Wright usually gets the win.
Just turn that volume down a little bit. Might have been a bit loud.
Winky's definitely trying to make a statement here. I mean, he's, like I said, walking down the puncher. He's a young kid, 21-0, all knockouts, and yeah, he could do something to a fighter. He's never been in this position, I'm sure, being walked down.
Oh yeah.
Right, don't forget to score, gentlemen, and everybody watching.
I only just about found it.
I know I get sometimes, engulfed in the action. I think both fighters did good things in that round. Just one did more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'll go with that.
In the corner of Vargas is the Garcias. What's his name, man? Oh my gosh. Well, Robert Garcia's father. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Yeah.
That's right, Eduardo Garcia, but I forgot. They call him something else.
Alex, I'm not sure if you've put in your score, but
Yes.
if you have, you might not be logged in. So I can't see your scorecard on our group.
Yep, fine in there.
Yep. I am. Yeah. Didn't log in here on this computer. Sorry for that. Took me a while to catch up what you were saying. Apologies. Oh man.
So far, so good. A lot
Yeah.
of good work by Winky here on the inside.
Just remember your score for these first two rounds, Alex, and we'll pause it so you can log in. Excuse me.
Seems Vargas is really looking for that counter right to the body constantly. talking about. There it goes again. See, man, they should have paid me, man. I couldn't be doing this for free, guys. I'm just joking. Winky's just so relaxed. You know, while he's coming forward, he's not really. It doesn't seem like he's very concerned with anything Vargas is doing.
Yeah, certainly seems to be trying to make a statement on the offensive end.
He just looks so seasoned, doesn't he? He knows what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely calm. Just knows what he needs to do.
You see Vargas is constantly moving to his own right. Ooh, nice. I'm sorry, but yes, he's moving to his own power hands, away from the jab of Winky, and also for him to be able to counter that right. I mean, to use his right hand counter. Man, such beautiful work by Winky that round, huh?
And Vargas picked it up a little bit, but it's still Winky Wright who's out front on the offensive end as far as the pace. He's really putting it out there.
Both of these gentlemen did weigh in exactly at 154. However, on fight night, Vargas weighed in at 160 and Winky at 164.
Oh, interesting. Young
I do like
21-year-old
those
body.
rehydrated weights for this weight class.
Yeah, not too much, is it?
Oof.
Slight split right there by Wright. I like that defense.
Yeah, you're gonna get hit in a fight, but to understand when to how to absorb it, how to turn, how to take some off of it. That's exactly what is a good example of what Winky just did. I was just about to say, Winky's been staying balanced, and then he goes over there and brings his back foot forward. But he's definitely trying to make a statement, saying, "I'm the bigger, stronger man."
Indeed, and so far so good. I think he's getting it across pretty well.
This is Fernando Vargas's third defense of his IBF title, which he won against Yordi Boy Campes, seventh round stoppage. So he did just come off of 11th round KO against Raul Marquez, who you'll see on the Showtime Championship Boxing broadcast team. Joe Cortez, the third man in the ring, Hall of Fame referee.
Firm but fair.
Yeah, this is good stuff. The shot.
Oh, nice uppercut.
You can see that determination in Vargas, the thing that made him a fan favorite. He's still pressing forward, so I like his tenacity, intensity. There's always a big thing with him that I enjoyed. Better round for Vargas here.
Absolutely. I was just about to say this is a close round.
I think he's had a better round, but I think Winky Wright's kind of met him as well. But I don't know. He looks like he's a bit more intent, doesn't he?
Man, those are nice little slips. Nice small little movements.
Yeah, it was a close round right there. Very close right there.
Could be a swing round.
Oh wow! I've never heard them
So
give
the
any type of details on the ring card, girls.
Jim
Wow.
Leslie must see what he like.
Leslie must really like that one.
maybe got into trouble. Quite dangerous. Telling the people, what they're doing, where they are.
Man, gosh, it's like someone mentioned about stepping on the foot and landing power shots. Oh, that was me.
It was you, Alex.
Sorry, guys. It's been a while. I just like tuning my own horse sometimes. I'm surprised Letterman gave that round to Wright.
Yeah.
Watch the feet. Look at this foot battle. It is fascinating. White was trying to step on Vargas's foot. Vargas been stepping in on him. Oh man.
I've seen them training this drill with their 1 foot in the tire in the gym.
Yeah.
I think that gets them prepped for this type of stuff.
This would have that foot battle would have won. Would have had a lot of subscribers on OnlyFans.
Including you, Alex.
Nah. Once again, Winky's backing him up. You saw when he was in the middle of the ring, Vargas was able to do a lot better work. But man, Winky, man, coming forward. We mentioned it before the broadcast. Winky was a defensive fighter, so this is definitely entertaining to see.
Yeah, indeed. And certainly, we used to Vargas being the stronger fighter and certainly can press a fighter back. So this is interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, I think Winky Wright is respected as a fighter and a boxer, but I think that was possibly a criticism that sometimes he was a bit too defensive of a fighter.
Ooh, that was a nice straight right hand by Vargas. You could tell Wright felt it. I would like Winky to take that little bit of a step back and use the jab. He must be buzzed from that right hand. That happened, about 20, 30 seconds earlier?
Yeah. But he's
For sure, right here, right
still looks strong, trading. Oh, that was a stiff jab.
Nice right to the body. That was right to the solar plex.
Oh,
Great point there. I like the fact that both fighters seem to have that attention towards the body and slip the shots in here and there, just making sure that the other is aware.
Absolutely, Josh. Man.
did that land, that body uppercut?
You have to wonder, will this pace keep up? It's pretty crazy.
They both look like they're kind of breathing a bit.
And I agree with you, Vega, in terms of Winky Wright. He's just like, I'm not stopping. I'm going to keep pressing forward. Like, Wright's taking a step back might do him a favor.
Absolutely. Winky was just two fights removed from losing his title. He is a former WBO junior middleweight champion. It was a very close fight to the hometown fighter, Harry Simon, over there in South Africa. It actually, in the ring, it was announced as a majority draw. But once Winky went back to his locker room, they informed him they misread the cards, and it was a majority loss to Harry Simon. They actually
Wow.
wanted Winky to go back in the ring, and he said, absolutely not. So they're going to go ahead and announce it.
Wow.
So
That's
Winky's had
crazy.
such a fascinating career.
Yeah.
His first title shot, he went to France. He was 25-0, never fought more than 8 rounds, never been scheduled for more than 8 rounds. Uh, a lot of people believe he won 11 of the 12 rounds, but he was knocked down 5 times, mostly to being exhausted and tired,
Wow.
and losing it. So yeah, uh, it reminded me of when we watched Evander Holyfield against Muhammad Kawi. Just to provide a little context, how special that was for what Evander did. Winky actually, he was U.S. promoters declined to sign him. He actually, between 93 and 1995, traveled through Europe, Luxembourg, Germany, even had a fight in Argentina and South America, and several times in France before coming back to the U.S.
Yeah, certainly one of those fighters who had to earn his respect, and he did it by taking on tough challenges.
Hmm.
And you really got to see just how good he was over the course of his career, especially on the back end of it.
And that's probably why he's fighting this way. He understands what these fights mean. Nice jab. He's on HBO. He's fighting a guy 17-0, 17 knockouts, 21 years old, beating, you know, world champions, former world champions.
Proper crossroads fight, as they call it.
Mm. Like I said, like I mentioned, losing controversial decisions.
Mm.
We know where his career goes. Both of their careers go from here. So I can obviously very good from Winky Wright seeing what this opportunity was
Yeah.
as we, ending coming to the end of round 5.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that a little bit earlier as well. The intriguing part of how the career trajectories ended up. Uh, so yeah, certainly both of them, some, made great statements, made history in the sport in some sense. Uh, of course, with Vargas and De La Hoya, that's one of my favorite fights of all time. And then Winky went on to be in a lot of, as you mentioned, controversial close fights that he built his name up. And he made some statements there to show that hey, he is one of the best boxers in the world.
I like the pep and Winky step in this round, definitely. First time we actually seen him a little lighter on his feet.
Yeah, a little less active than he had previously been. Punch out quick wide.
A little 1999 commercial for you.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely feels that Winky can just take over this fight just with the jab as you saw in that round.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen Fernando try to walk down Winky at all. It doesn't seem like he's able to. You see right there, he tried to push him back with the right hand and the jab, and Winky didn't step back. Wow. I don't know about that, Harold. See, as
Well,
Harold scored that one for Vargas, I thought that that was a clear Winky round.
I will say that I was on the side of Harold in this one, but seeing that jab count has me thinking and second guessing.
I thought that was a Winky round.
I like you, Jim.
Cheers, mate.
I think the people probably will lean more towards me and Harold.
You know, that just shows the beauty of boxing and also the dark side. You know, it's different interpretations of what we're seeing, but also how, you know, sometimes a majority can feel one way, but it matters, and it's in the hands of three people by ringside.
Mm-hmm. Sweet science.
That was a very nice sequence by Winky, man. He went down, up, and back down.
And at this point, it's pretty evident that this is Winky on the front foot, and it doesn't look like he's going to give ground. So it's pretty amazing to see. He's not stopping. He's continuing to press Vargas. He actually has him backing up, seemingly even more in this round than I'd seen previously.
I think that's what he needs to do. Doesn't he? Wright's clearly a better boxer, more natural, and if he can be putting the pressure on Vargas, it doesn't give him time to think about where his power shots are coming from.
And it's not that Vargas is doing bad; it's just Winky's doing more good.
Yeah, right. And I think this shows also that Vargas certainly respects the punching power, at least, or what bit of it is coming back from Winky Wright, because he seems to certainly be aware of such and is respecting that and not just storming in there recklessly. Wow.
Shout out to Boz in the chat. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Buzz. Just adjusted some volume. Let us know if that's any better.
You think of Winky Wright's offensive performances, of course, we know him for his defense, but this certainly has to be up there as far as him putting on one of his best offensive displays.
Absolutely. I guess now it's because he's known as this more defensive fighter, fighting a different style. Can he maintain this style throughout the 12 rounds? Because most of the time, when you're thinking of like a puncher, is you usually want to take their confidence away, right? So, for example, you see a lot of times they'll walk them down, but then they'll mostly counter them, right? They'll walk forward but counter them. Then you'll start seeing more of them push the pace and start leading towards the end of the fight. He's done that reverse in a sense. So, you know, I mean, as we'll talk about later, one of the fights that happened last night, we saw how that went wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotta press confirm.
I'm just messing around with audio stuff. Chain ideal. Hopefully the sound might be a bit better.
Let me check my audio. See if I have noise suppression on. I do not. Okay.
Yeah, you sound okay. I think I just had the desktop audio on a little bit low.
Okay. Man, Winky's still doing his thing, man. But you see, Fernando seems that he's gotten used to backing up instead of trying to change that.
Right. You haven't seen him on the back foot this much.
No spoilers, boss. Come on, ref. Oof. See, that's what Vargas gets. He had in his mind, I'm going to cast this jab. And then Wright said, you're right. You're going to cast this jab right to the face.
Yeah, yeah. That jab of Wright's is so underrated right now.
Oof. He really wants that right hook. Yeah. Nice little body shot by Winky. You see Vargas returned it. Might have hit the elbow.
Vargas, he does have the flashier power punches when he throws them, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the accumulation of damage and what is being done by Winky isn't more effective. And I think that's pretty telling in the way that Vargas has been fighting more on the back foot throughout this contest.
Good work by Wright, man. Once again, it's going up, down, up, man. He really just has great punch selection. And look at that defense. Bringing it right back.
Some good action
When I
in
was
this
watching
round.
that, I'm sorry, Jim. Go
No
ahead.
problem. I was just saying good action going on. Go ahead.
I'll wait till the round ends.
This is a tough round to score.
Definitely. Definitely. That is definitely a swing round in my book.
Certainly.
Well, hey, we've gone 7 rounds without comparing scores.
Maybe it's about that time.
You can tell we're a bit rusty.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know what? It's not just that. The fight's been good.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that we were able to do this fight. This was supposed to be, a month ago, and I'm glad that we stuck to it. So appreciate you, Jim, for putting your foot down.
Hey man, I had it all set up and ready to go, so I was like, "Yep, that's less work. That's good enough for me." All good, right? We'll take a pause there, and we will do some comparisons.
Oh man, I am wondering how it's looking, guys. Oof.
Okay.
What do you guys have? I have not looked.
Here we go. So let's just go through our overall total so far. So Alex has got it 69-64 to Winky. That's one round, I guess. He's given to Vargas. Josh has got 68-65, and I've got 60-66 somehow. Let's do a comparison between me and Alex.
You got like 3, 10 rounds, man.
Yeah, how's that?
So we had the same opening rounds where we gave it to Winky Wright. We had a difference on round 3. I gave it to Vargas. And you gave it to Wright. We had the same on round 4, 5 and 6. 5 and 6 we had the exact same, which is good. And in that last round I gave an even round. I thought, let's start off the new year with an even round in there. And it was close. It was very close, like we just said.
Agreed.
Yeah, certainly some swing rounds in there, but I think that at least to this point, each of us, we're kind of seeing the same thing as far as Winky Wright being ahead.
I think it'd be quite interesting to see.
Right now.
Sorry, Josh. I'm just going to see how me and you scored it, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, we got to similar scores. I obviously had the even round last one, and you didn't.
Excuse me.
But we still got to the similar scores by pretty different means. We've got 2 rounds of difference there. So that's quite interesting that a lot of these rounds could probably go either way.
Yeah.
So that being said, let's tell you what the combined scorecard looks like. No, we can't do that because someone's done bad coding. That'll be me. Man, I thought I'd fix this issue, but clearly not.
Oh, you're funny.
Anyway, let's continue.
I'll tell you, the combine is 6-1. I'm looking at it now.
Okay.
6-1 Winky. Got a couple mouses there. Wright's definitely feeling that jab. I mean, I'm sorry, Vargas is feeling that jab. Vaz is funny. Spoiler.
Okay.
Oh, nice counter right by Vargas. Good timing on that.
I wonder, it may be obvious in sort of how this playing out, if this is playing out, if Vargas and Kent came into the fight thinking that Winky Wright wouldn't be this offensive, which I'd imagine may be the case.
Yeah, I doubt the Vargas team ever thought Winky was going to fight this fight with this young lion. So I wonder if they're. I haven't really been listening. Ooh, nice left hook by Vargas up top.
Yeah.
But what are they telling Vargas? You know, I mean, what adjustments? Because I'm not really seeing any except for more combinations down the middle, which he's had success with that right hand, straight down the pipe.
Yeah.
But other than that, I would like for him to. Oh, nice jab by Wright, but Vargas to push Winky back
Yeah.
to let go 3-4 punch combinations.
Yeah. And much like when he landed that big hook a while ago, I will say that Winky Wright, he seems to be eating those, it just keeps coming forward.
He looks
Yeah, I
in,
believe there's maybe one time I felt that Winky was buzzed. Go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
he's looking in full control at this stage, to me, in this round. At least for the last minute or so. Winky Wright, that is,
I
I'm
mentioned
referring
before,
to.
I think Vargas, it's not that he's being blown out the water, like he's not doing anything good. It's just Winky's just doing more.
Yeah.
Just like this, he's in a rhythm, isn't he, Winky Wright, at this stage where he just dictating everything.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know Vargas that's being a counter puncher, but if you look at his posture, you would think that that's his style of fight.
Agreed. Yeah, no.
Okay, I've managed to get up the average scorecard for us. So I'll take a pause in a second.
Did he just tell him nut check time?
Okay, we'll just take a pause there.
Get ready for the nut shots.
All right, so if I remember rightly, when we were supposed to be watching this before Christmas,
Is that a pun?
No. I think I added in the judges' scorecards as well, so we can see that feature while we're looking at this, which is pretty good. So, yeah, let's. Have you seen this feature before, Josh?
I don't recall seeing it from that perspective.
Okay. So so basically, if we can find the judges' official scores on Twitter or wherever, we can add them to a fight, and then we display it in the average score count section. So
Oh, yeah.
we can see now the average for fight score fans, as usual, and then we have the judges' scores, which we can show and hide them for each round.
Okay.
And then over here, we outline whether the judges were all unanimous in their scores for that round. The average that works out at, so that in this case it's 10-9 for Vargas by the judges, and they were all unanimous in that. But that differs from the fans who scored it 10-9. That's us three.
Yeah, very interesting right there.
Ronald, right.
Very interesting.
So we do that per round, as well as our winning margin and the main reasons. So we can see again, this time, the second round, the judges and us three were all unanimous in the 10-9 for right. And then that gets added up and totaled up at the bottom as well. So the judges' analysis, they had 5 unanimous rounds, 3 split rounds, and how it matched the fans and how it differed from the fans, and then an overall percentage of unanimous by judges and fans, how combined, how close we were. So we'll see how that ends up at the end.
Whose bed were these judges lying in beforehand?
So yeah, if we just look at ours, it's after 8 rounds, we've got it 7-1 for Winky Wright at this stage. So let's continue. Hopefully that explanation kind of understood. I should have practiced it. Oh, what happened there?
What the hell's going on?
I think it slipped.
Wet corner there.
Someone's just thrown in the towel. End the fight.
Uh-oh. Let's go.
Maybe we could add in another scoring column for Harold Lederman. See how his compares.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's too much work. Not worth it.
See, I want to see more of that from Vargas. And then maybe a step around afterwards. I don't know if that's really in his arsenal, but with the step around, but definitely something like that. See, Winky, he does have good feet, but he's not always using them. He really wants to work behind that high guard and kind of hit you with off-rhythm shots. So I think definitely that might make a difference for Vargas if he's able to apply that.
Well, they're not going to have that problem here. What they have a problem here is that Winky Wright has just fought a wonderful fight.
See Winky on those toes.
Yeah. And these are seemingly the moments that Vargas should be taking advantage when Winky slowed down attack.
Who was the famed animal trainer, Frank Buck?
And we all have Vargas down, I believe, on our scorecard. So definitely would like to see more from Vargas.
Yep. Even with this lull in Winky's offense, Vargas is still not pressing forward in the manner that he's very dominant. He's still kind of just on that back foot. Almost like he's agreeing that, hey, if he's not going to throw as many shots, hey, I won't either.
Nice.
Nice right hand. Like I said, man, he's landing that right hand down the middle at times.
Yeah.
Just not doing enough after.
That was a good comeback. Nice jab as well.
Oh, nice jab. Look at that.
What's happening? Gumshoe come out.
Oh, come on, man. A-side Vargas. You know the beat. you've you've heard Wright's corner all night long with that. But I believe this is a close round so far. I think
Yeah.
Vargas has had, his good moments, but Winky's definitely had, a good back half. Mm. Ugh.
That was kind of close, just mainly because of the lack of activity from Winky.
Just at the start of that round, yeah.
Interesting one for sure. Interesting.
The fights are always clear till you get these swing rounds. People always say, "Oh no, he definitely won that fight." Well, take a look back. This
Yeah.
is why we do this. This is why I love, fight night scores because it's not always so obvious as people see. Once you put it on paper and actually have notes or say, "Hey, he edged it," it puts it more in better context on how difficult it can be a judge to be a judge.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember we were scoring Ali versus Foreman, Rumble in the Jungle.
Mm.
And we thought it was just a dominant wipeout for Foreman through those first 6 rounds, I would say.
Mm.
But it turned out to be the case that Ali was actually in there.
Mm.
It was competitive. I think you had Foreman up at the stoppage, and I think I gave a lot of rounds to Ali, but still, it was close.
Yeah. Yeah, very much.
One quite interesting one, especially with the judges' scores on the card as well. I noticed when I was adding it in was the Taylor Catterall fight. Some pretty. I think it ends up pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that was kind of seen as a massive robbery for last year. So, but I think it was quite. I think the judges had it pretty similar as well throughout. Maybe we can have a quick look afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. I actually had Taylor winning that fight. Minority, I know.
Maybe it's your scorecard that makes it all closer than it actually was.
You see the crowd's really getting into it. You see people standing up, clapping.
Oh, yeah.
These boys going at it right now.
It's happened kind of subtly, but Vargas was coming forward a bit more there to start this round. It's kind of evened out here in the middle, which was a lot like the first few rounds. They were fighting a lot in the middle of the ring, so
Yeah. Finally, come on, Vargas. All he needs to do is a little step around, and that's it.
yeah. Yeah, I think the notable shift will be when we see more of Winky on that back foot if Vargas can make that happen. He's really digging in right now. I'll give it to him.
One adjustment I've seen is Vargas is definitely committing more to the left hook behind the right hand.
And when Vargas uses his jab, it lands pretty well. So more of that would certainly be a benefit to him.
Once again, there was a fight last night. It was a perfect example of that, Josh.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're right.
Nice. That was a beautiful combination by Vargas. You see, just adding the volume has really given him his best round in a while.
Yeah, he's definitely steps it up this time, hasn't he?
Yeah, and we can note now Winky is the one going back.
Nice body shot by Wright.
Right.
Where you see Vargas is still coming. Oh, there goes the step.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah, good round that. Good bit of action as well. I think the last couple of rounds before that they'd been a bit quieter, hadn't they? But that one livened up. But yeah, Vargas was pretty relentless in there.
We didn't see any of the nut shot. That must have been cold, I guess.
Or maybe that was meant to start to teach Vargas to prepare for such.
Mm.
There's Ike Bazooka Quarte, Ghanaian star, looking to move up from 147 to 154 and perhaps to fight Fernando Vargas this coming spring. Requires that Vargas pull out a victory here.
Yeah, this was supposed to set up the winner against Ike Corte, which it does.
Landing 34 of 84 power shots. That's a brilliant round. He might need 2 more rounds just like it.
A quick shout out in the chat to Ben Smith. Good to have you on board. He says Vargas' son is looking good.
Indeed.
That's
I do like the bravado of his son. I think he has the look. He seems to have the fanfare thus far here early in his career, and I think that will continue to build. And they seem to be pushing him properly, so I can see him making some waves later down the road.
Well, remember, he has 3 sons, but I'm assuming we're talking about Amato, who's on top rank.
Yeah, the younger one who has like 3 fights now or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, Amato seems to be showing signs of being a complete fighter.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I forgot to plug my charger in. He just said, "Hey, battery's low, guy." He also, like I said, there are 2 other sons. There's Fernando Vargas Jr. and also, dang, what's the other one's name? But they had just fought on the Regis Prograis card.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, the youngest one is Emiliano. That's the one. Amato's the middle son, who probably is not seen as the other 2 are seen as probably better prospect, with Emiliano being the top one.
Okay. And, I just had to look it up, and yeah, it's Junior that I'm thinking about. Fernando Vargas Jr.
Yeah, he's the power punching one.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye out for them. But Vargas is a pretty common name, isn't it, in boxing? So, like Garcia.
Vargas is doing, Wright is doing more movement here, fighting more as we expected to see him early, making Vargas come after him.
Right, what's been happening in this round, boys? Sum it up for me.
Winky's definitely probably controlling the action a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think they've been pretty close. Some probably clean punches landed, but yeah, I just think Wright has been the one controlling the action with his feet.
Vargas looking a little bit frustrated, isn't he?
Yeah.
Not used to this.
These championship rounds, they make a difference.
One thing that was believed to be affecting Fernando Vargas is a couple months earlier, he was charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon and conspiracy to commit a crime. And also, there was a mention when I was researching the fight that he had a large baseball bat shaped scar across his back, which I haven't seen during the fight. But he said he had family issues leading up to this fight. We could say that about anybody. I'm sure we all have different things when it comes to work, but that was documented coming into this fight.
106, 103 to Wright.
Yeah, Campbell Hatton. I think the mentions he's gotten in the chat has been more than enough.
Hey, Boz throwing Campbell's name out there.
Campbell
think
Soup
he's-
Hatton. Okay, I'm done.
I think he's throwing him under the bus. But,
Not to make you sad or anything, Jim.
well, I don't mind. I think
Manchester's own.
now I was a big fan of his dad. I mean, he's just a kid getting started. He probably is thrust into the limelight just for his name, but yeah,
Right.
see how he goes.
That jab, man. Winky's jab. It's been there all night. Whenever he's needed it.
Yep.
Whoa,
Come on, ref. Come on, ref.
Oh,
Oh, wait. Ooh.
took a tumble there, didn't he?
Oh, it looks a little uneasy. You sure that's
I don't know what happened there, to be honest.
because he was landing?
Yeah.
It looked like a dramatic roll for a slip or a fall.
We had couple missed knockdowns last night. Man, last night, I guess it's more eventful now that I think about it.
Yeah.
We'll get into that shortly. I've not seen most of last night's action, so you can bring me up to speed.
In the thick of it, it didn't feel all that exciting, but man, now reviewing, I'm watching this fight.
Yeah, certainly didn't lack in drama.
Yeah, for sure. Dang, what was that, Winky? Grabbing Fernando Vargas' hammies. Interesting round. You know, they're throwing hands. It's not as engaging as some of the rounds earlier, but you know, Fernando has to feel that he's behind.
Mm.
Yeah. I like what he's doing.
Yeah,
He
he's-
is pressing.
He seems to have urgency. I think he's been the busier fighter.
Mm. Nice
He
body
has,
shot.
he has the right mentality, for this being his first time going the distance. That's mentioned.
Winky's celebrating already. He knows he's won this.
He knows, huh?
Okay. Gonna be interesting.
Oh god, they're even shouting that back in these days, and the new. I hate that. I hate when they shout it. I hate the hashtag.
A lot of confidence in both corners there, huh?
Yeah.
Especially in Winky's.
Yeah.
115, 113.
Yeah, that is a lot of confidence from the Vargas end for sure. But hey, that's the way you have to display yourself, I'd imagine.
Boz says
Interesting he
Ledman's.
said that Winky outworked him. Interesting.
I was saying that, sorry, Boz and chat says that Ledman sucks. But I happen to notice that his scorecard is the same as Josh's. So I don't know what he's inferring at that point either. Maybe Boz has been looking at Josh's score as well.
You heard challenger Winky Wright's trainer Dan Birmingham tell him 3 rounds ago.
Dan Birmingham. Oh, that's right. Keith Thurman connection. That's right. Keith Thurman talked a lot about being in the gym with Winky as a child.
Oh yeah.
Vargas alert enough to put in a pop for his hometown. Despite the strenuous
Are we going to have a bit of waiting time before these scores get read out?
But I'm with Boz. I'm not a big fan of Letterman scorecards.
Yeah,
Always
in
find
general.
myself differing, from what he had.
Yeah, it was no slight on you, Josh. You know what you're doing sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
How many people are in that ring? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a lot.
114, 114, a draw.
Oh.
Judge Jim Howard sees it 115, 113. And Judge Deborah Barnes scores it 116, 112 to the winner and IBF Junior Middleweight Champion of the World, ferocious Fernando Vargas.
Yeah.
Vargas.
Whoa. Majority decision.
Wow.
116, 112 August. That Deborah.
Crazy.
Debbie. Come on, Debbie. No.
So the judges go with Fernando Vargas. And in a tough majority decision, Vargas holds on to his title. Ike Quartet breathes a sigh of relief at ringside.
Yeah,
We'll look at the
hey,
final
these
copy
judges,
box.
you never know with
Numbers
those scorecards.
landing
I won't say
37
complete
more.
outrage. There were
Nearly
some
100
clean
more
rounds.
punches,
But
and
what I
most of
will
the
say,
difference
it looked
came
like a
in the
younger
10th
fighter
and 12th rounds,
being
where
schooled, not fully schooled, but at least learning a thing or two against a fighter who's a bit more seasoned. And hey, the judges see what they see, I guess.
Yes, they do. All right, let's see what we got then. So, like I say, Josh had it 115, 113, so pretty close. I had it with my 10-10 round, I guess. I would have probably had the same, but it was 116, 113. And Alex had it 116, 112 the other way to Winky Wright. So maybe somewhere in the middle of there. So let's have a look how this combined scorecard is in comparison to the judges then. So we know well, let's just go down to the last couple of rounds. So I think we had it 7-1, didn't we, when we looked at round 8. So in round 9, it looks like the judges were split, and we scored it in 10-9 to Vargas. The next round to Vargas as well. Judges were split for quite a lot of these rounds. Round 11, we scored it to Wright, and round 12, we scored it to Vargas. So in total, we had it 8 rounds to 4, 116 to 112. That's your scorecard, Alex. So I guess you win this week.
I feel like a winner every week, but
Yeah,
anyway.
well, there you go. Fair enough. But yeah, this little addition at the bottom of the scorecard then, where we can see the judges' average totals would have been 115, 113 to Vargas. Interesting. The judges were unanimous for 50% of the rounds and split on the other 6, and 9 of the rounds the judges' average matched our scores, and 3 rounds the difference, so that's a 75%. But then in total for the unanimous judges and matching the fan scores was only 4 out of the 12 rounds, which is 33.33%. So I think this kind of last stat kind of shows how different like our scores are compared to judges, and whether they agreed throughout a fight or not. So I guess that low figure shows that it was quite a controversial decision, possibly. Lots of differentiation between people's thoughts on the fight. So yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool thing to add into the analysis section. Hopefully you agree.
Oh no, most definitely. When I first saw it, I definitely I was very happy because it's really nice to compare it right then and there. Not having to split to a different screen. Find the information. It's all right there. So
Yeah.
thank you, Jim.
Yeah, good stuff. Looks good.
No problem. Let's have a look then at. Well, I mentioned it briefly. Let's just quickly have a quick look. The Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall.
Catterall. A rematch we're going to get, which is
In March.
exciting.
Is it this one? Yeah, so there's lots of green on here, which I was very surprised about. So overall, us fans that have scored it had it 6 rounds each. There must be 6 rounds each, 113, 113. Does that work out? Okay. The judges were unanimous in 10 out of the 12 rounds. It's just split in just 2, and 11 of those then matched the fans and 1 different. So it looks like, quite a regular fight that was easy to score, I guess, across the board. But given the fallout on Twitter, and a lot of fans thought that was a bit of a robbery, this all of this data that we see right now kind of shows the opposite to that. So I thought it was quite interesting reading when I put those judges' scores in there. The fact that they had so many of the same scores in the rounds that were pretty close, and a lot of people were scoring those for Catterall instead of Taylor. So yeah, quite interesting.
Yeah. 9 out of 12 isn't bad. And I didn't score this fight, but I came in. It was about round 6, so I saw from round 6 on at that particular time live. And of course, it looked like both fighters had been in a fight, more so on the face of Taylor. But what I will say that it was fairly close, and Taylor, for a guy under 20 fights or whatever, the way he fights, he does know those slight tricks. Some consider it dirty or things of that nature, but he knows those little tricks of the trade that a veteran fighter typically knows, and I gotta commend him for that. So I think it was just a close fight. Probably wasn't an all-out robbery. Looking at these numbers, just as many were mentioning on social media and all that.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, Jim, this is why this is such a wonderful tool that I believe many more people need to go ahead and start using as their go-to when it comes to using any type of scoring system for boxing, because you can compare it with each other, and also you can see, like, what, that round was kind of close, even though there was 5 close rounds. If 3 of those went the other way, 2 of them, it's understandable. And in regards to this fight specifically, I had Josh Taylor winning. Not because I felt that he was the better fighter in this fight, but because of the referee. You got to remember, when Jack had his, Jack, I think he was the first one to have a point deducted. And I think most people were feeling like Josh Taylor should have had point deducted earlier in the fight. And so, in regards to that, if Josh had 2 points taken away and knocked down, and Jack doesn't have the point taken away, maybe, this fight would have been perceived as what it was, that it should have been a Jack Catterall fight win. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm glad you just mentioned that about the point deduction, because that then explains the 113 rather than 114 apiece. That now makes sense. I'd forgot about those, but yeah, all good. It adds to the debate, I guess, and this just adds extra metrics to our system. It should be quite interesting and useful. I think maybe when it comes to the rematch, maybe we could cover the first fight.
Yeah,
might be worth a go.
Absolutely.
All right. I'll let you look up the dates for that one, Alex, and we'll get it penciled in.
Most definitely.
All right, sweet. Let's move things along then. We will take a look into last night's action. I've only seen a bit of the replay this morning of Tank Davis versus Garcia. Josh, give us your verdict and your summary of the fight. Go ahead, mate.
Yeah, so it kind of went as I expected, as far as I thought it would be competitive to start, and eventually Gervonta Davis would probably break him down and stop him as far as Hector Garcia. Now, I will say Hector Garcia, he had some pretty decent moments, Davis, he seems to be thinking a bit more. I guess he's generally had some slower starts, but yeah, this was a fairly slow start overall, just by comparison to some of his other fights. I'd imagine for Hector Garcia as well. But eventually they got into it a little bit, and of course, size always comes into play with Davis, who is oftentimes going to be the shorter fighter. I don't know if he's ever been the taller fighter in any of his fights. Maybe against Cruz. I
Yeah.
can't remember how tall Cruz is. But that being said, Davis, I thought he did a good job of just kind of biding his time, and eventually he started to land some big shots, and you could tell Garcia was certainly putting on that sort of shield, but I'd imagine a lot of those shots had to hurt because when he was getting caught cleanly, they seem to have some extra pop behind him for sure, which is what we tend to expect with Davis. But we know that Garcia was also coming up from 130 pounds. Now, I know some people mentioned that he's taller. I guess you could consider a big 130 pounder. So putting on that weight shouldn't have, in theory, been an issue. And I guess there may have been mention of him potentially moving up at some point soon, either way. But that being said, I believe that, of course, Garcia, he was just in there with a guy who packs a punch, and Davis, despite his short stature, I mean, he just has a means of generating the right type of force to get the most impact from his punches, it would seem. And I guess you could consider him a knockout artist in some sense. And his wins, I think only two of them haven't been knockouts or have gone the distance. So I think he's exciting. There were a number of people who showed up for the fight. This was here in Washington D.C. I considered it at times myself in terms of getting tickets to go, but I opted not to. But that being said, I think it showed that Davis he is a star, most certainly, and he can get fans to come out and support. But I do want to see this Garcia fight, Ryan Garcia, that is, because I think this will be the type of contest that will kind of get one of them or maybe even both of them to that next level because I think both bring a lot to the table and they have styles that are almost opposite. Some of that due to the size. And I think it's going to make for a very interesting contest. So hopefully this goes as planned as far as April of this year. And I think it could be a very, very plus star making performance for both of them to push the ceiling even more for the two of the fighters. But that being said, in relation to this fight in itself, I think Davis did as expected. That's probably the best way to sum it up.
Yeah, yeah. There was bit of commotion over Christmas period for him, I believe, and there was question marks whether that'd have any impact on how his performance was.
Yeah.
And Garcia was, I guess, maybe quite a live dog, a bit underrated. I think he had a couple of upset wins last year, potentially. So it was a good fight for him on paper, and obviously he came through. What did you make of it, Alex?
Gervonta Davis, I mean, typical Gervonta Davis performance, right?
Yeah,
Like you said, very patient. He's basically an athletic Canelo Alvarez. Kind of sees what you do, how you react, starts to see how he lands, and then turns it on and starts landing the big punches more and more and harder and faster. And next thing you know, Hector Garcia found out. Literally lights out. Hector Garcia said he could not see. That's how hard Gervonta Davis hits. You can say it's because of this or because of that. I mean, look at his results. Leah Santa Cruz took the best nap of that year that we've ever seen on film, right? Who was someone else that he fought? Besides the Isaac Cruz fight, everybody falls to the hands of Gervonta.
Rolling Romero.
He stopped
Barrios.
Pedraza.
There we go, Rolly. It looked like the first hard shot Davis landed, lights out, thinking he's okay, not knowing that he's on spaghetti legs. Looked like he could have fell if someone blew on him. So yeah, the power's real. I don't care if you can say, well, this guy is not as good, or he's from another weight class. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. This dude,
Mhm.
Tank, is probably the best nickname you can give to him. Um, but we also have to say something else. Like, knockouts are exciting, but in the fashion he's doing it, throwing 20, 30 punches around, it's not that exciting. He
Yeah,
needs the right dance partner. Is Ryan Garcia that guy? I think more of the anticipation and knowing how highly skilled. I mean, like I said, the flashiness. They both have that speed. Ryan's probably faster. They both have that power. Gervonta's definitely the heavier hitter, but Ryan obviously can hit too.
mhm.
So I think with that, it's exciting. But I mean, I don't want to see 30, 40 punches around unless you're landing at like 40%. But once again, this was just another bump in the road, and he treated it as a speed bump as it was.
Yeah,
Hector Garcia is a solid fighter, as you mentioned last year. He had the upset win against undefeated Chris Colberg.
yeah.
Goes and fight Roger Gutierrez, who's a solid fighter. And he won in dominating fashion both those fights, nice and clear. So Hector Garcia, some people, there is a little bit about him quitting. You go in the ring and get hit by Tank, and we'll see how you react. You know what I mean? So, thank you, Javante, for putting on a show. You could tell the people came out. We got a lot of names on this card, and we were viewing, even though it was till 1:45 in the morning the next day. So this was not a Saturday night fight. This was a Sunday morning fight.
Hmm.
But yeah, give us Tank versus Ryan.
Yeah, I just to touch on that fight last night. I watched this morning. Like I say, my stream. It was a YouTube video that I watched, so it wasn't the best of quality. So I couldn't properly tell of the shots because it's like very cropped, so you can't really see the whole action. So it was really difficult to tell like when shots were landing, how hard they were landing, and so like it was pretty tricky to see how banged up and stuff Garcia was at the time of the stoppage. And there was also all of the issues with the crowd that was going on, which was really distracting. So that was crazy. But going back to the stoppage, when the corner pulled him out, or he quit in the corner, whatever he did, that crowd reaction was fantastic. They all just were up and jumping, and you can tell he's got a huge following and he is a big star. I've been quite high on Tank Davis for quite a few years, and I always thought he was possibly the best of those lightweight guys. I still think that as well. I think he probably could be the top one of all of them. I think he possibly beats Ryan Garcia if they do face each other earlier this year. So with that fight ahead, let's have some early predictions. Josh, what do you think the outcome of that fight would be?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna be probably in the minority as far as what the majority of the people will say, but I do think that Ryan Garcia poses a lot of problems for Tank Davis, and I like Tank. I think it's going to be a matter of if Tank catches Garcia in the right manner, can Garcia recover from such? But I also think that Garcia has the ability to catch Tank in a way and hit him with some shots that probably will affect him a bit more than some have in the past, as far as when some fighters have caught him. And I think it's certainly one of those fights that can be considered 50-50. But as far as those just measurables and just how those things stack up, I lean a little bit towards Ryan Garcia. And I know you're probably not going to hear a ton of that, but my early prediction certainly leans a little bit towards Ryan Garcia being on the winning side, just given what I've seen from him thus far and how he matches up size-wise with Tank Davis.
Nice. Go on, Alex. What do you say?
Viewers, just keep in mind, Josh is from DC, the DMV, and Baltimore and DC are rivals. No, but I definitely can see what you're saying.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm a massive fan of The Wire, so maybe I'm biased. Sorry
so it's basically like
there,
Manchester versus Liverpool rivalry.
Yeah.
Because pretty close.
Yeah,
but
proximity.
anyway,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to that fight. Ryan Garcia's length with his speed and power versus Gervonta Davis's, ring IQ and power. How are they gonna mesh? I'm telling you this, it's not gonna be many punches thrown, but every punch that's being thrown, you're thinking this could take the other guy's head off.
Yeah.
It could put his lights out. It could be a knockdown. So I'm very excited. But I'm gonna say it's gonna be the same thing we've been seeing with Javante. It's gonna be, little by little, figuring out what works, what mistakes Ryan makes, which defensively he makes a lot. But keep in mind, Ryan Garcia is a multinational amateur champion. He won many, many national tournaments. He was highly regarded as an amateur. And Javante, I mean, come on, man. We seen him fight over and over again. We just watched this again. The dude's good. The dude has I mean, he's literally, like I said, a mini Canelo.
Mhm.
I mean, he's beating good guys, and he's doing it, with great stoppages. He's stopping people the way other guys just they only can dream of. So yeah, I think Gervonta gets a late 11th round stoppage against Ryan Garcia.
He's
I'm
gone
putting
round.
money on that round specific.
He's gone round specific. I like it. Love that. Yeah, I go with that. Maybe not that late. I'd go but into the second half of the fight. Like you say, Javante's I'd say mini Canelo with Tyson power.
There you go.
Prime Tyson. I think that Garcia is more lanky, isn't he? Taller, which might cause him some problems. But I think in terms of, it's not an exact science, but they're framed to take a solid shot. I think Tank, Squat, and he's probably got a better chin, even though it's not really fully been tested. But then again, neither is Ryan Garcia's, I don't believe. But Leo Santa Cruz is that same kind of build, I guess, and Tank found a way to stop him, and that could be the same result. Anyway, we'll discuss that when the time comes that they're gonna get around to fighting. Hopefully, I think you mentioned earlier, Josh, it was aiming for April, so hopefully that's the case, and we will discuss it again in the future live stream with some proper final predictions back then.
Hey, I wanted to mention also another interesting question or food for thought. Has there ever been a fighter to take on two different Garcias back to back?
But I did say it's quite a common name, so it could be the case that it's been done before. Anyway, let's move things along. Also on this undercard, there's quite a few big name fighters. So Jaron Ennis was also in action. I really like him from what I've seen the last couple of years. Alex, give us the lowdown on this one, please.
When this fight was announced, when it was coming down to bet, everything I heard was bet, 1 through 3, 1 through 6. There's no way this guy's making it. And, the biggest thing I always asked was, has anyone seen Corinne fight, right? Or as it spelled Karen? A lot of Karen jokes constantly. But man, Corinne, the thing about this fight was no one's seen him fight, so no one knew what to expect. So was it more of we were all surprised about what happened, or is Corinne better than what we expected? And I think it's both. I've never seen, a guy from Eastern Europe move as swiftly as he did. I mean, he has good live feet. And he was able to really cause Duran a lot of issues and frustrate him. Now, Corinne didn't land, the most telling blows or the most eye-catching, but he was able to land clean on Duran. And it's probably the most clean shots that I've seen land on Ennis. But, I mean, he ate them like a kid does opening up their favorite candy. I mean, it was nothing to him. Very frustrating for Duran, you could tell. However, I liked how he stayed committed. He had a pretty steady body attack, looked fast, but it seemed he does have a little issues with lateral movement. He's explosive, but maybe not the best feet, or maybe he can just drill it more to be able to show it in a 12-round fight. But we've seen Duran go 12 rounds now. We know that it doesn't seem like he got tired, and And to me, he's just not ready like people think. He needed this fight for his development, but man, he needs another one or two if he really wants to give himself the best chance to be able to defeat two of the best welterweights we've had seen since Mayweather in Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford. Because if he steps in there now, there's just things he hasn't experienced in the ring with 8-ounce gloves that those gentlemen have and have overcome.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I was kind of one of those that thought that having seen, he's kind of had some pretty highlight reel stuff in recent years. He does look the real deal to me. So I've been like, maybe this guy could be ready to take over from the two top dogs that don't want to fight each other. But yeah, I've been seeing quite a lot of flack on Twitter, I guess, where people say maybe he's not as good as he was, as we assumed he was going to be, or not exactly very positive for his performance last night. Josh, do you want to add your thoughts to that?
Yeah, it was pretty funny. We were talking about this last week, and we were looking at Karen's record, or Kareem, but Karen, we were looking at his record on the podcast last week and trying to understand, hey, has he been in with anybody? Who is this guy? Because as Vega mentioned, nobody probably had really seen him. It was probably a select few, if any. And we saw that he fought older Ali Fanica. He beat a Ryan Martin that was opposite of the Ryan Martin that I think I was thinking of. But that being said, when I was actually watching the contest with Ennis after about that third round, I was saying to myself, is this going to actually be the toughest fight that Ennis has had? Because I must say that some will call it running, but the way that Karen was moving, I mean, he was giving Ennis problems as far as being able to land anything clean. And we saw a number of wild shots from Ennis, which we typically hadn't seen in that fashion. And then another thing that came to my mind, probably right now here a few minutes ago, is I'm kind of going to lump him now into that category with Janabek Alimkhanuly in terms of two guys that they were saying were the boogeyman of the division, and then they take on someone who's a bit unheralded. No one had expectation that they would do anything with, and they thought they would get out of there. So I'm going to lump him in that category in terms of that boogeyman moniker may be the antithesis of what a fighter wants, because it seems to put some expectations on that fighter that they could ultimately not live up to in a single fight, and that can change the dynamic a bit. But that being said, I still hold Ennis in high regards. I just think that this boogeyman thought or concept, as far as him in the welterweight division, I think that's probably a bit overstated at this point. And in seeing that, I don't know if he's ready for Crawford and Spence at this very moment. I do think he would give them a good fight. They won't move exactly as much as Karen did, but I do think that they showed that, hey, experience can matter in some sense. And, Ennis has more fights, of course, but that being said, that doesn't necessarily dictate the amount of just overall experience with rounds that a person has, because a lot of Ennis's opponents were kind of taken out of there in quick fashion. But, hey, he can improve from this. I think it was a learning lesson for him. And I do think that a bit of it was probably some anticipation on his end that, hey, he was probably thinking he was going to get this guy out of here as well. He was probably hearing what was being said and just thinking about what could be next. But certainly this will set him back a tone in terms of his thought process, and probably go in that gym working a little bit more on, hey, what if I get one of these guys who doesn't want to engage much and they move well? How do I go about cutting the ring off a bit better and doing it in a more definitive fashion? So I would say, Karen, he came out of this probably looking a little bit better than what many people thought, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him in there again if he wanted to be one of those sort of trap opponents for one of these prospects coming up.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to touch on that with like Ennis, in the whole, I call them booger men. Because I don't think anyone really is this boogeyman like they say. Like I think they got to stop with that nonsense. But this is why you need to go through these type of fights. You need to get this experience. Duran, you look at him, they say he's the second coming of Roy Jones, and I understand why. I mean, he's fast, he's strong, he gets these nice KOs. I mean, he's hitting dudes, and they're saying that the back of their head was hit. I mean, that's how fast and quick he is, right? But you look at a dude like Virgil Ortiz, excuse me, Virgil. You look at the way he's been built, right? Beat Mauricio Herrera, who's a former world champion, right? He also faced, Brad Solomon, who was a top amateur. There was another gentleman that had one loss, Antonio Ortiz, I think his name was, or Antonio something, was a top prospect that he defeated. Orozco he defeated, right? Mean Machine, who went in there with Bud Crawford. Everyone saw him hurt Bud Crawford. He hurts Virgil, and Virgil pounds him out worse than the way Bud did. And then you see him against Michael McKinson, gets extended the longest of his career as a mover, very crafty, and still gets a stoppage. So even though I think, eye test wise, I see Ennis as the better prospect, Ortiz has gone through these, trials and has passed them all. So that's why, I believe that Virgil is further along in his development, regardless of, Duran having the more, eye-catching talent. Go ahead, Papa.
Spot on right there.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I don't like this boogeyman type of nonsense that gets labelled on some boxers. And it's also equally unfair when their stock kind of plummets a little bit due to a poor performance. Everyone can have an off night. I also just noticed on there that the all three judges scored that 120, 108. Is that reflective of the actual fight? Or is it a bit unfair on Karen?
I mean, I gave Corinne 3 rounds. I think he deserved at least one or two.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a clear victory for Boots. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't notice such until now. Actually, I didn't pay attention to the scorecards to that degree. So I'm just seeing now that it was a wipeout on their cards. But yeah, I do think that Karen had to win at least one of those rounds. I remember he was able to land a few good shots. The inactivity probably was his major downfall. But yeah, I didn't see it as a complete wipeout. But hey, who knows?
I don't suppose it matters. Okay, let's move on. Rashidi Ellis got beat by Roman Villa. Was this a upset win?
Most definitely.
Go ahead, Alex. Give us your thoughts.
Yeah, so they call Rashidi Speedy, and boy, did we see that those first 6-7 rounds. I mean, my God, was his speed overwhelming. I mean, Villa, I'm sure is not fast at all, but he looked like he was in, quicksand. How much slower he was. I mean, Rashidi was doing, counter jabs, lead jabs. He was countering when Villa the few jabs he did throw, or even his right hands. Just counter him with the right hand. It was a thing of beauty those first 6 rounds. You were thinking there's no way in hell Ellis can get robbed. It's so clear. It's only he can go into cruise control. And, Villa was throwing some nice body shots the 5th, 6th, 7th round. However, towards the little by little, you could see Rashidi was starting to slow down. Villa started to throw that jab, which Josh had mentioned. If Vargas was throwing that jab a little more, and it started opening up a lot more shots. And man, you could just see it. Ellis was starting to get hit cleaner, harder. And I thought still Rashidi had that fight. All he had to do was basically, last round, he could lose the round, but as long as he stays on his feet. And this man Villa came out with a vengeance and dropped him. He actually dropped him 3 times. The second one was missed. He actually landed this mean right left hand, and Ellis crumbled to the ground. They ruled it a slip, but he still gets that second knockdown towards the end. Ellis barely survives. I had it 8-4, so I had it 114-112 Rashidi. However, the judges seem to enjoy Villa's pressure and aggressiveness more than the clean, fast punching of Ellis, and Ellis loses the majority decision. There's a lot of talks about him in boots, and that seems to have been wiped out, erased from existence. So we'll see where Ellis goes from now. I'd like to see the rematch, but if Villa gets the boots fight, I'm down with that as well.
All right, cool. Well, what's your assessment, Josh?
Yeah, a lot like what Vega mentioned there in watching it. So I came into this fight thinking that it would potentially be the fight of the night, just given the styles. But I will say, as Vega mentioned, in those first 6 or 7 rounds, I was thinking, oh my goodness, maybe I was wrong about Villa because I just so happened, I've only seen, this is my second time seeing Villa. I just so happened to see him against Boca Chica when he actually beat him. And I was like, man, this dude, hey, his power seems to be the real deal. Even though he didn't stop him in that fight, he ended up going the distance. And supposedly he came into that fight a bit out of shape. But man, some of the shots that he was landing on Boca Chica had him holding on for dear life. And I think that's one of the primary reasons he made it out those first 2 rounds. But that being said, I thought this would make for an exciting one. And as Vega mentioned, Ellis was super sharp early on. I mean, it was almost like he was putting on a clinic there. And then all of a sudden, Villa's power came into play as Ellis started to slow down. And I think definitely once we got to the last 2, 3 rounds, you could even see it on Ellis's face that he knew that, okay, yeah, I might have a bit of trouble here closing out these last 3, especially when he started to take those night knockdowns. But essentially, hey, it seems that Villa's power can carry fairly well late. Now, I wasn't scoring the fight. I had actually considered such, but I wasn't scoring it at the time. Now, I will say that it looked like Ellis had racked up a number of rounds to where even with those 2 knockdowns, potentially 3, it was going to be hard for Villa to overcome those early rounds. But some of them, I guess, came down to the judges maybe liking some of the power shots from Ellis because, or the power shots from Villa rather, because Ellis oftentimes, he's shooting from the back foot, and of course, the same steam that was on those punches in the earlier rounds weren't there, so they probably didn't look as effective to the judges. And Villa, of course, he wasn't throwing many jabs. When he did, it boded well for him. But when he was landing, there were some pretty heavy shots. It was just a bit few and far in between. But once you started to pick up a bit more, you could see that they were doing some type of damage. So I think that this was a great fight, stylistically, a clash between the two. I would like to see it again. I think they would operate a little bit differently in the next one, in the sense that Villa, he might come out a bit more aggressive, and I would think that would make the fight even more exciting. And maybe the rematch is in store. I know they mentioned that, but I would certainly like to see it. But if Villa went on to fight the likes of Ennis or someone else, then I think that would be good as well. I think him and Ennis would look a little bit different because of Ennis doesn't fight in that same style as Rashidi Ellis. That being said, I think Ennis would also offer chances for Villa to land something big, because Ennis is probably going to be looking more to land something big of his own coming into it. And I'm sure that he probably won't view, at least from a boxing ability standpoint, Villa as a huge threat from that perspective, but you certainly have to be aware of that power that is coming back for him. So good matchup there, and certainly I'm sure it upset the apple cart for many who viewed Rashidi Ellis as sort of the guy that was there who had gone through some issues. I think it was with Golden Boy. I could be wrong on that, but it might have been. I know he was with another promotional group, and there were some issues. They felt like he was put on the back shelf or whatever because they didn't want him to be in there with the likes of Virgil Ortiz, et cetera, et cetera. So it takes away a little bit of steam from that perspective of the people discussing or mentioning that type of stuff. But he's still right there in the mix. He had a good performance up until the point where it wasn't. So good stuff could still be in store for him as long as he keeps his head on right. And if they do the rematch, I'm sure he's going to approach it a little bit different himself.
Yeah, quick note, Rashidi, like you said, he was with Golden Boy. He beat 2 of their prospects, Eddie Gomez twice, and Alexis Rocha, and then was put on ice 1 round in 27 months. This is a testimony why you need to be active. But kudos to him for taking a tough fight because, like you said, we saw Villa versus Boca Chica. He upset the apple cart, beat him down, right? Dropped him like the first, second round. It was a tough matchup. He looked amazing, but this 1 round, 27 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. Okay, time's moving along, so we'll just mention that Demetrius Andrade won a shutout in that event as well. Is it worth even mentioning about anything about Andrade?
Well,
Go on, Josh.
I just wanted to mention, give a shout out to my guy Demond. Of course,
Mm.
he's from this area. That's my guy there. But yeah, he was in there in the mix. Not a lot of activity from him. He was able to hurt Andre on seemingly to the body on one of those sequences. I think that's
Dropped
what
him.
Alex was mentioning as far as missed knockdowns,
Okay, yeah.
and I think that was certainly a missed knockdown in the fight. But that being said, Andre certainly won if you look at the totality of rounds and even the overall activity for sure. And we'll see how he does at 168. Hopefully, we can get him in there with Charlo or someone else. I guess someone in general because a couple of other guys are wrapped up. But Charlo seems to be the ideal one. Because it doesn't seem like Jamal Charlo has any real opponent in store moving forward.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, Alex? Anyone you want to see Andrade with?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Andre versus Charlo. I like that he's trying to put pressure. Keep saying Charlo's what I want. I want Jamal. I want Jamal. I want Jamal. Don't matter.
Okay.
I want him. Catch weight 160, 168. It doesn't matter. But I mean, it was typical boo boo doo doo shit. I mean, he comes out fast. He gets a drop. He gets a knockdown, and then he gets into this. It's like, okay, he's too good for the B level guys, right? But it's like, yo, you need to blow them out more. We saw it with Quigley. I thought he was going to build on that. And it's just, he comes back against Damon Nicholson. Nicholson is a solid guy. We've seen him in it with Berlanga and some other dudes. 26-4, 22 KOs. Damon did a lot better talking than punching. But yeah, even though that when he got knocked down, it didn't seem that clean. But they call it a knockdown. But when he hits, gets Andre down, whether you want to say it's balance as well as good timing on the body shots, that was a knockdown. That might have made Andre put the go full gas. But yeah, if not, if he doesn't get Charlo, then let's get winner or loser out of Plant versus Benavidez. We want to see the best versus the best. They say Andre's one of the best, so prove it.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, there's plenty more names on that card, but we will talk about them in future, no doubt, and we'll just move things along. Okay, so that was last night. This weekend covered. Next weekend, Saturday, the 14th of January, we got an ESPN card. FA Jagber versus Stephen Shaw, or Stephen Shaw, sorry, I should say. I think that's the correct pronunciation. Alex, go on, just give us your thoughts on this, on both these guys.
Yeah, so Jagba used to be with PBC. He was known as this monster crazy puncher. Leaves PBC, goes over to Top Rank, keeps that reputation up. However, they put him on the Wilder versus Fury card, and he gets outclassed against Frank Sanchez, who we know is a top level heavyweight boxer. So now he's going against another gentleman who's known as a pretty good boxer, Stephen Shaw. Another guy used to be with PBC, ran into issues. Someone said something on his behalf that basically got him blacklisted, put him on ice. But has signed with Top Rank and has looked very good. Both of them, both of them are seen as, these maybe older prospects in the heavyweight division. But Top Rank has a lot of heavyweights. They have Jared Anderson, they have Tyson Fury, among others. So this is a really good matchup and basically sees who is going to be moving forward to contender level and who's going to be left behind. I look forward to it. I'm tuning in. I've never seen Stephen Shaw fight. However, I always hear very good things. So yeah, definitely. I'm just gonna go with my American Shaw. I'm gonna go majority decision. I'm gonna be specific. I'm gonna put a little sprinkle a little cash on it, man. We want to be specific with these predictions. So yeah, MD Shaw. Let's go.
Nice. Give us your thoughts on this one, Josh.
Yeah, I know Bods and I were talking about this matchup a little while back. I couldn't remember for sure if I had seen Shaw, and I still don't know to this point if I have actually. But that being said, looking at his record, some of the individuals he's been in with or whatever, no, I think that of course it kind of matches with the Jagba, who Frank Sanchez, of course, is probably the marquee opponent between the two, and Frank Sanchez actually was able to handle the Jagba. I won't say easy, but he did well in terms of his strengths, and that got him to victory. And Ajagba, of course, is another one of these guys who was viewed as a monster here on the come up. It was all but written that he would be the next heavyweight contender of the world for one of
Mm-hmm.
those titles at least. And Frank Sanchez kind of brought that back down to earth. And Ajagba, he still, of course, can punch, but we'll see how he does if someone opts to actually box and move on him and he can't land that big punch. There's probably still some growth that is needed there, and I think this fight is going to show us a little bit as far as where Ajagba is and what the prospects are for Stephen Shaw as well. So yeah, it's hard to make a pick just from an overall perspective because I haven't seen, I don't recall at least seeing Shaw, but I do think if you just look at everything at face value, it seems to be a fairly even matchup or 50-50 type matchup from my standpoint.
Yeah, cool. Um, that sounds like a good matchup. I'll probably try and catch some highlights of that one the next day. Just also noticed that Abraham Nova is on the undercard. I know he lost last time out. Was it an upset loss?
Rabisi Ramirez,
Oh,
one
Ramirez.
punch
Yes.
knockout.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was necessarily an upset,
No,
but
no.
I would say Visa Ramirez made a statement to show why he has all the hype.
Yeah. So I guess that's
Not
about
at least.
a bounce back fight for him against Adam Lopez, 16-3.
Yeah, there's Blue Nose.
Yeah.
He's known for dropping Oscar Valdez.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know, I hadn't actually seen the entirety of this card, but it looked pretty decent. But yeah, I think that should be a pretty good fight right there. Adam Lopez versus Abraham Nova. I think Lopez will certainly test Nova in terms of we'll see how that knockout loss has affected him, if any, in terms of his recovery. So I think that's a pretty decent matchup right there.
Mhm.
And then, of course, Guido Vianello, he's going to be taking on Jonathan Rice, who's a veteran heavyweight, who at times, you know, he's put on some displays that kind of shown that he can upset the apple cart a bit. And I thought that Vito lost to Kingsley eBay, that draw that's listed on his record, which happened in the bubble, I believe it was in 2020, the top ranked bubble. And I remember seeing that fight. Vito, he had some fanfare in Italy, and he had some backing from Top Rank, of course. And I think he was a pretty solid amateur. And of course, if he turns out to be as good as they expect, I think, you know, he'd be a big piece of the Italian market there for Top Rank. But that being said, there's still some questions regarding him as well. So I think Jonathan Rice, while he's not sort of the marquee type heavyweight, I think he has enough to at least give us some answers to some questions on Guido Vianello for this particular at this particular stage.
Yeah. Okay, did you want to add anything to that, Alex, or shall we move things along?
No, yeah, real quick, Johnny, I can quit my job now, Rice. Yeah, definitely in support of him. If I remember that, he said that after he beat Michael Coffey the second time on New Year's last year. And a name to take a look for, to definitely keep your eyes on, is Brian Norman Jr. He has gained a lot of steam because he's 22 now, I believe. When he was 20 years old, he was called into camp to go ahead and spar Terrence Bud Crawford,
Okay.
and he left with very, very good reviews. there was rumors saying that he hurt, that he made Bud stumble. He downplayed it. He said that basically that it was just great work, and no one could believe a 20-year-old was keeping up with the pound for pound, fighter and the number one fighter in the world, as some people see him as. So yeah, definitely keep a lookout on that. And of course, Shushu Carrington. I know Josh and I constantly mention these, these type of U.S. prospects, but he is supposed to be a guy that is going to be a future champion, 126, 130 pounds. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, he has looked very good, and I've heard good things about Brian Norman Jr. as well. I've seen Haven Brady Jr. before. He looks pretty decent. Then, of course, I guess it's worth mentioning Floyd Diaz. He's going to be fighting on this card as well.
Cash flow.
And he has the flash. He has some pretty solid athleticism. He's skilled, of course, but we'll see how he continues to develop. I remember he was a young cat in the Mayweather camp when he was a bit younger, and was coming up in that camp, if I'm not mistaken, out in Las Vegas at that gym, and he was highly regarded or whatever. And so far, he has looked the part, but certainly there are some aspects of him where I think he gets a little bit in love with his power, or what he perceives as his power, or the power that he has, and that can throw him off a bit. So we'll see how he does against Edwin Rodriguez, who I had to look back at. And Edwin Rodriguez, he's been in with some pretty decent names. He's a pretty solid guy. So it should be an interesting test for Floyd Diaz, who I know they have high hopes for as well.
All right, cool. Sounds like there's quite a few decent prospects to look out for there. All pretty young lads. And it's good that you boys can educate me on who these are from over the pond that I would otherwise not really have heard of unless I watched the whole card. So that's good for me, especially if the bookmakers put some odds on them. All right, let's move things along to the following weekend. This is just the last event that we're going to cover, and then we can call it a day. It's at Manchester Arena, my stomping ground. Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith. Decent domestic fight, this one. I'm going to go to you, Josh, first. Give us your verdict of this one.
Yeah, I actually like how Liam has looked. I think you can look at Liam from the standpoint of pre and post Canelo. I would think that Canelo fight, the stage was probably a little bit too big for him, and he had a decent showing, but of course we know what happened there. But I think since then, just from an overall standpoint, he's continued to press forward, and despite some losses, he has pretty good momentum right now. And I think it'll make for a pretty good fight as far as him and Chris Eubank Jr., who will finally be getting in the ring. And I think with this being at 160, of course, I think that Eubank Jr. will and probably should be the favorite. That being said, I do think that old Beefy will give him a test, and I think it'll be good for as long as this lasts. But I see scenarios where this probably could go the distance as well. If Liam is able to move pretty decently and stay away from anything big from Chris Eubank Jr., I think I could see it pretty much going the distance. But yeah, I think it's a good domestic matchup, even world level matchup for the most part. So I'll definitely be tuning in, kind of see the outcome. The card in itself looked pretty good as well. I was wondering why that red flag was there next to Liam Smith's name. Not that that had any true meaning or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Alex, give us some thoughts on this one, mate.
When I first heard it, I wasn't that excited, but looking, it's kind of like what Josh has said. Beefy has really had a really nice run since that Canelo fight. Yeah. I mean, even that Canelo fight, he didn't look bad. It was just he just wasn't good enough, and that's okay. You're not always going to be as good as a top 10 pound for pound fighter, which Alvarez was at that time. Because that was before Alvarez took on Triple G a couple of times and moved up all the way to 175. So he's had the two Liam Williams wins. Yeah, the Jaime Munguia. I'm sorry.
I was going to say the two Liam Williams wins were impressive, and propelled him right back up into that kind of world world level, and then obviously he got beat up by Munguia fairly
Which was
handily.
just too big, too
Yeah.
strong. Basically, it wasn't. Munguia. I mean, we could talk another 5 minutes on that. Would be a waste of time, just like his career has been. But a lot of people felt that Beefy got robbed in Russia. I
Yeah.
never saw the fight, but I heard.
I was going to mention that. I think he had an unfortunate decision there, so that's a good run, taking out the Russian result. Carry on, Alex.
I see what the flag is. It's from his fight, the beating that he gave to Vargas. New York commission, it seems they basically suspend you indefinitely until you just apply for your next fight. Then they go ahead and remove that red flag. Because I see it all the time.
Okay.
Lomachenko also has it.
Okay, good to go.
But anyways, so I think Eubank, honestly, the thing I'm worried about is the letdown from the Conor Benn fight. But I think he's just too big, too strong, too fast, which we've seen Beefy basically succumb to. It's going to come down to his IQ and him minimizing his mistakes. Like I said, Eubank is really fast. He is super athletic. So for him to be able to catch up to that speed and to time it to where he's not going to get countered too hard, to where it's going to affect him. That's going to be how the fight goes. But yeah, I'm thinking Eubank. He might drop him once or twice, but I think Eubank unanimous decision for this fight, which the card seems really solid. So I definitely want to make sure it's an afternoon here. Yay. Love being in the U.S. for these type of fights. Better than our own fights that end at 2 a.m. But yeah, man. Thank you, UK. Yeah, I definitely think the winner definitely gets himself into title contention in a middleweight division that needs somebody to step up.
Yeah, I agree. All right, I think Essuman and Congo, was this scheduled to be on the undercard of Eubank and Ben, and we discussed it back then? Because that
Essuman had fought recently.
Oh, is that is that where we covered him? No.
Yeah, I know.
So that was back
I feel
in
like
September.
the Lionsdale belt was on the line over there. I forget who he. Oh yeah, Antwi,
yeah, in Manchester. So, what card was that? Yeah, because I remember it was on the George Joyce Joseph Parker, who's also on the card.
Right, yes, that's correct, and he's on this card as well. That's an evenly matched up fight, another domestic one for the British welterweight title, so that should be pretty good. Have you got any thoughts on that, Josh?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's fairly even. Congo, I know he had high regards. Despite that one loss, he's still pretty solid, I'd imagine. And I think that it can make for interesting contest between the two. The 50-50 fight, as far as I'm concerned. If I had to make a pick, I kind of like the momentum of Essuman at this point. Yeah. But, hey, 50-50.
Yeah, exactly. Fraser Clark also on there, heavyweight, and as we just mentioned, Joseph Parker against Jack Massey. Big phrase. And Richard Riakporhe getting another outing as well.
Yeah, I've never had the pleasure to watch the undefeated gentleman. The only first time I heard of him was my first time watching Chris Billum Smith. Yes. And I guess he has a win over him.
Yeah, he did.
And I guess they've been building up to try to get them to match up, but I think now they're kind of on separate sides of the UK street.
Yeah.
But I think that's an interesting matchup because I think with this win, that's it. How you say his name?
Richard Riakporhe.
Riakporhe. That puts him in, contention because I thought Glowacki had moved up to heavyweight. No, or is that another cruiserweight?
Yeah, it might be a different one.
Yeah,
Glowacki.
I remember Okoli.
Oh yeah, it looks like he
beat him.
Yeah, that is right. Now, Okoli. I didn't know he had fought since the Okoli fight, but of course, Glowacki. He's been around for a good little while now. So I think that Richard Riakporhe, this might be sort of like his coming out party with a somewhat notable name in the cruiserweight division who has had a title at some point, a world title that is. So yeah, it should be a showing for him. I haven't seen Riakporhe either, Vega. So I've seen some highlights. So I know he's held in high regard, so it'll be good to kind of see how he does with Gavaki, and if he can get him out of there, which is, if he wants to put on a true show, that possibility will certainly be there with Gavaki to get him out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a good statement win for him. It's quite interesting to watch. He's, nice style. He can punch. He's 6'6", so he's huge for cruiser.
Jesus.
So
Big cruiserweight
there
right
is talk
there.
there is talk about him moving up to heavyweight potentially in future.
Yeah, him and Okolie, that would be a pretty interesting matchup. Two
Yeah.
tall cruiserweights going at it, looking like heavyweights in there.
And it's possible because Okolie is kind of a free agent,
Okay.
right?
Didn't know that.
Have you seen those back and forth with
Yeah,
Eddie Hearn?
Yeah,
I hadn't seen that. I
Yeah.
didn't know this.
I think he's in a
Wow.
bit of a limbo in it at the moment.
And I see that this Jack Massey gentleman that's fighting Joseph Parker, he's moving to heavyweight, and he actually lost to Riakporhe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. A couple of
Okay.
years back.
He got dropped by him. Have you seen Massey or
No,
not really?
I probably would have watched that card.
Mhm.
But other than that, it looks like he's just been on low key events. I probably might not even seen this one. But yeah, not a bad event. One to tune into in a couple of weekends' time, anyway. And I think, fellas, that wraps us up for this week. We've been going just over 2 hours. I know Josh needs to get on across to his channel. He's got his boxing shit coming up. Is that correct?
That is correct. Just gonna talk about some of these same fights, of course. May throw in a few history discussions in there. Feel free to drop by.
Yep, head on over to 86 Boxing, check out his channel anyway, regardless. Some good historical stuff over there. Alright, fellas, as ever, I appreciate you boys joining us. It was a fun fight to watch, as usual. We need to get the next couple of fights that we're going to cover decided, I think, Alex, if that can be your homework, please.
Most definitely. Already got a really good one in mind. So
Perfect. All right. Thanks for everyone who's tuned in. Keep an eye out for on Twitter for when we're doing these streams. Usually every other Sunday. And we keep up to date on Twitter with regards to any changes or issues. Hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already and enjoyed it. And we will see you all in a couple of weekends' time. Thank you very much. Cheers.